Welcome back to the Quiet Battles. Last time we talked about the emotions of been high guilt, grief, fear, all very real emotions. Today, we're looking at a different kind of battle. And it's that battle that happens after the diagnosis hits, after the meetings and therapies and behaviors. A lot of dads realize something quietly slips away. We simply stopped enjoying tough kids. The laughter, the goofiness, the fun little moments, those got replaced by survival mode. And if you've ever looked at your child and mainly seen, IEP meetings, appointments, problems, managing things, paperwork, if you've ever even thought about, I'm a caregiver, not a dad, then this episode is for you. Hey, Jeremy, tell me about a time when everything became survival mode. You realized you really weren't laughing with Landon anymore.
Billy, for me, I would say that goes back to even in the first few months of us being in the ICU. Um, after getting past the initial birth trauma and getting him stabilized, and just kind of looking in that moment that when we were in the hospital and Landon was stabilized, that's really when I felt like I was in survival mode. I was working two jobs at the time. Insurance. Heidi was working. Uh, we were trying to keep him alive. The doctors weren't sure what was going to happen over the course of the next 24 hours or week or month or year. And so I felt like it was not only survival mode for Landon, but it also felt like survival mode for me in just uh, waking up early in the morning, going to work, getting off work, coming straight to the hospital, spending the evenings at the hospital, and then just starting that cycle again, and trying to get just get to the point where he could come home.
Yeah, I mean um, that's real. There you would for us it was really kind of the that same moment. It was like, okay, wow, we don't know what she's going to be able to do. We don't know where that is. We don't know. It's kind of that holdover from the diagnoses hitting, you know, but at the same time, just not being able to really enjoy Lindley because we've got the therapy sessions, we have the doctor's appointments, we have all the things that go along with for her for autism. We have all those things, and I'm sure there came a point where you're like, I'm managing my child more than I'm actually enjoying him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I would even venture to say that there's still moments like that now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are and I think for me, I can look back, as we have that conversation, I can look back, now that Landon's 16, and just look at how many of those years was more of the management side of things than it was really the dad side of things.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you missed that.
Oh, for sure. Now, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I mean, I feel like we've had a lot of really incredible dad moments, father son moments, and him and I getting to spend a lot of time together and just doing fun things. There's definitely been plenty of that. I mean, he's been able to go places that a lot of people haven't gone, and gotten to experience a lot of really neat things, over the course of his life. But there's definitely a lot of moments where uh, I just I look back on the day and just recognize that a lot of what the day consisted of is just taking care of his basic needs and not really being a fun dad, and
Yeah.
really wanting to be more of a fun dad and just be the entertaining one and be able to laugh and to cry and giggle and just do all the things that fathers and sons do. And there's been so many days that hasn't existed because it's just taking care of the basic needs.
Yeah. Was there a point where it just like it was tipped off for you, like the joy's gone?
You know, I think what scares me most, Billy, is to reflect on those first several years in recognizing in the moment that I enjoyed Landon and that I had joy for him as my son, but then looking back at how many years that I was struggling processing through what was actually happening in my life. And so it was almost a mixture of the joy of having him and having him as my son, but also the pain and agony that I dealt with privately because I was so confused and so frustrated and so bothered by the fact that things were not going my way, which
Hmm.
sounds terrible because it's really not about us. It's really, but it was the idea of like it's not going, and when I say it's not going my way, it's not going the way that society tells us it should go.
Right.
It's not
Right.
happening the way it should have happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, like I know you love Landon, I love Lindley, and we would die for them. But it might it comes down to we may not be enjoying them sometimes, and that's really the quiet battle that no one talks about.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think for other guys, that's why this is so critical for them to understand. Hey, there's a point where you can get out of survival mode, but I want to talk a little bit about what survival mode actually looks like. Um, so there's going to be constant crises. Constant crises. There's going to be medical stuff, appointments, school emails, therapies, all these things. Just kind of, they're like, okay, I'm living and dying by my calendar again. You
Yeah.
know, and that can be a big weight for men, um, because it comes back to, again, I'm not doing anything other than just moving forward. And sometimes that moving forward in those points may feel like they're actually standing still. So, um, so if you can keep everything running, that's how we think. If we can keep everything running, then I'm being a good dad. You know, if I can keep providing for my family, if I can keep food on the table, if I can keep the roof overhead, I'm being a good dad. But at that point, do we become emotionally absent?
Well, I think the question would be is, you know, you can define that you're being a good dad, but but what are you being good for? Like,
Okay.
I think the challenge here is a lot of times when we talk about being provider, we have to provide the physical things. I mean, that's part of what God has called us to biblically, is to care for and lead our families and provide for them physically. But we also have to look at the mental and emotional side of things too. And I
Hmm.
think even going back to what you had mentioned before, that's a lot of where I think I recognized I was completely missing it. I was meeting my family's physical needs. I was meeting my son's physical demands, if as far as food, water, shelter, you know, the doctors, insurance, all those things. But I was really missing the opportunity to meet him emotionally and mentally in a lot of ways. And I think some of that was just going back to the fact that I even personally felt emotionally absent,
Hmm.
not as plugged in as what I wanted to be. Uh,
Let me ask you this: at some point, did you believe that joy is a luxury that you didn't have time for?
Absolutely,
Why?
absolutely. Because I think
And
I had, at the time, I think I really missed what the definition of joy was. Understanding that when I think of joy, I recognize that in God's word it tells us that joy is actually a fruit of the spirit. It's actually a gift that God gives to his children. And while I was surrendered to the Lord and living for him, I wasn't. living out the attributes and the characteristics that he had given me as a Christ follower, because quite honestly, I was too distracted just trying to, one, do it on my own,
Mhm.
but also just trying to meet those basic needs. And so I think I just I missed a lot of that because I was trying to define it differently than what it is that how God defines it.
Yeah. I mean, were you some believing the lies like, joys for later or joys for people who don't have our problems?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to look at other people's lives and see what other people are experiencing and see joy in it.
Mhm.
Um, we have to be real careful here, because I think a lot of times you can confuse joy for happiness, and these are two very different things, right? And
What
so
do you explain that? Because I get it, but there may be someone who thinks they're one and the same. Um, and I know I want men when they hear this to recognize that there's a difference there between the two.
there absolutely is, and I think if I had to explain it, um, I would say that happiness is a shallower emotion and joy is a deeper emotion. They may be in the same pond, but one is has a lot more depth to it. They, while on the surface they could look very similar, uh, happiness is limited in what it can truly offer. Joy comes from deep down within the very core of who we are. And again, joy is something that only comes from the Lord. And so, joy to me is having a sense or state of happiness that is not based around external things. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah. So happiness depends is really that externally can affect it, but joy, like I think, as soon as you said a pond, it hit me. Happiness is it's a shallow emotion. You're just standing in the water. I can be happy with the water, just kind of playing in it. But a joy is just something that is runs from top to bottom. You know,
It's a deep satisfaction of knowing that you have something that cannot be stripped away.
right, right. Um, so, and that kind of, I think that's missed a lot. You know, because we are managing the schedule. We're running from this to that, and we're changing diapers. Um, we're not having fun. You know, and so I think that can be very missed. But um, whenever you realized this, though, um, what did it do to you when you realized you weren't having fun with Landon anymore?
It hurt. I mean, it was painful. I think a lot of times that when you recognize that the fun is gone, that's when it's dangerous.
Mhm.
That's when that can a lot of times be the trigger that sends a guy into a downward spiral, right?
Yeah,
Because they realize that everything they longed for, everything that they hoped for in that relationship is missing, and it can lead you down a dark path.
yeah. I mean, the home atmosphere becomes functional, not relational,
Yeah,
and
yep.
that's part of the problem. Um, so let me ask you this: so whenever we swap to becoming more relational, did you see Landon respond differently when you moved from managing to delighting?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I felt like I saw him. For my relationship with Landon, I think I saw him laugh a lot more, and I think I don't. Let me just say this: I don't think there was anything different from his perspective, but from my perspective, everything changed. It's like I saw the laughter, I saw the smiles, I saw the excitement that he had in seeing me and spending time with me.
Mhm.
It was all the emotions that he always had, that he always felt towards me. but all of a sudden now I was in a place where I felt like I could actually see it and
Mhm.
feel it and experience it unlike I had before. And so there was really nothing that changed on his end. I felt like it was really all on my end. It was like God gave me a different lens, to
Mhm.
just see Landon through, and to me that was really the moment where it changed.
So, and what did you do different? Did you, I mean, how did you? What was the thing that made you go from functional to relational? What was it that you were like, okay, I've got to make a difference here. I've got to do something.
I can think back to a time where, I mean, there was just a lot of seasons of prayer and just really asking God, like, what do you have? What do I, how do I respond? How do I behave? What is it that I'm missing? What do I need to be doing? And it seemed like there was a moment where uh everything kind of shifted, and it was almost like this subtle touch of the Lord saying, I want you to I want you to look at Landon as if I'm seeing you through his eyes.
Mhm.
And that idea of like Landon being one of his children, God loving him so much and that he is his, and the idea that the the laughter and the joy and the excitement that Landon would get just in simple things was a reminder to me that we serve a God who loves the little things, loves the little details, and like it didn't take a whole lot for Landon to be excited, but it was like now I could see that even those little things um, mattered, and it was like the filter. It was like the filter was removed, and now I
Mhm.
could now I could enjoy it again.
Right. So let me ask you this: what's one thing that genuinely delights you about Landon? And I'll let you think about that for a second. I'll tell you, for me, with Lindley, I'll go pick her up from school or something, and she will run across the room and she's, Dad, and it's those little things because I never thought I'd hear her say Dad,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just those. I it still gets me every time. Like I'll come home from work, Dad, and she'll run across the room, um, and that's something I never thought we'd hear. Even when she sees Tara, my wife, she'll be like, Mom, or she'll say goodnight to Bubba, and she'll be like, Night, night, Bubba. And, it's really cute. It's really
Yeah,
cute. But, um, there's just little things like that I just I never thought I'd see it, you
well,
know?
as soon as you asked that question, I immediately knew what the answer was, and that answer is laughter.
Yeah.
Landon has a what I would describe as a very distinct laugh, and uh, there are certain things that can really trigger him in laughing, and a lot of times, when I put him into bed, we have a little song that we sing every single night. It's kind of our wind down song, and he smiles, and we touch foreheads and rub noses, and then a lot of times, if I tickle him or whatever, like he'll get to where he'll laugh so hard that it's as if he just stops breathing. Not in a bad way, but just he's so like just caught up in the moment and just enjoying it, and he has such a neat laugh. It just stands out to me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that's those moments of joy, it was, and that's what we want.
Well, and especially having a son who's non-speaking, you know those sounds that are indicating a very clear specific emotion, to me just carries a whole lot more meaning,
Mhm.
because he's not communicating with words, he is communicating with sounds. And so to me that laughter is such a clearly defined sound. It brings a lot of joy.
Yeah. Was there a time where you chose connection over control? I mean, was there a point where it's like, I need to control this, but I'd much rather have the connection with Landon?
Oh yeah, that and that's something my wife and I have talked about a lot. Just the idea. She would remind me often that we can't control the outcome. We can't control certain things that may or may not happen.
Hmm.
We just need to be present, live in the moment, enjoy what we have. Uh, and to me, that was a big part. That's been a big part of our conversation for years. Of just let's enjoy Landon for who he is and who God has created him to be, um, and not have to worry about uh, outcomes or controlling certain situations or um, but just really truly enjoy him for who he is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of want to close this because, dads, we don't have a lot of time. But I want to challenge, the dads who are listening to this, and it's this week. Pick just one moment, even 5 minutes, just to interact with your son or daughter in a way that has nothing to do with correction, appointments, or behavior. Just enjoy them. Just notice one thing that you love about them, and that's it. I think that's a good starting point. What did you think?
I agree, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and for me, it's those moments where I'll go in and she's playing with Minnie Mouse, or I'll ask for noses because that's how we touch noses. It's Eskimo kisses, um, but I can't control her, and I had to realize that it's still frustrating when she, like, I'll take her to the school and she'll want to run up and down the ramp and instead of going to class like she did today. But then by the time she gets focused, it's there. But I stopped controlling that moment, even though I wanted to. I just kind of had to let her do her thing. But uh, and I look back on it now this evening. I'm like, that was really kind of funny, because that's something that's just it's oh, that's Lindley. So,
yeah.
um,
And
but
that I think that's the important thing, Billy, I'd say there is, and I think about this too. I mean, there's going to be times in the future where we'll look back and we're actually miss those moments.
mhm, mhm, I agree. I agree. I think, uh, and we've talked a lot about faith and how God sees our kids and how He sees us, and I think uh, the other thing is we just need to make sure we're asking God to see our child, or to help us see our child the way He sees them, deeply loved, worth the light, and it's not just management.
Mm.
It's not just managing our family. It's spending time with our family, um, and it's I'm sitting here saying this and I'm thinking to myself, I need to put my phone away more. You know,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I'm guilty as charged. So I know Tara's going to hear this and she goes, "Yep, you need to do that." So, real quick, give me a rundown about Dosa Connect. What is it and who's it for?
Yeah, Dosa Connect is our online group that meets on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. And what's really unique and that's really become special about that is it's an open forum group. So it's a little different than our other groups that we have going currently, in the fact that it's just open conversation, discussion with the dads that are on the call, sharing life, talking about current events and things that are going on with them and within their family dynamics, and just being able to walk through it, talk about it, and every single call is different. The things we talk about are different, but it's open to any dad that has a son or daughter with a mental, physical, or medical challenge, regardless of age. We have guys that participate with infants all the way up to guys with grown children that live out of the home, and so there really is no limitation when it comes to who Dose Connect is for. Um, if you are a dad on special assignment, that group is for you.
Yeah, perfect. I couldn't have said it better. And if they want more information on Dose Connect, is there information They can get information on the website doceusa.org, right?
They can. We're actually in the process of rebranding and rebuilding some of the website, but currently they can go to it, scroll to the events section, and click the link through the calendar on the bottom of the website. We're actually going to be having a link that will be pinned at the top of the website soon, so they can go and they'll be able to see it at the top of the screen and click the link there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Jeremy, thanks for your time tonight. We'll let these guys get on with what they're doing. But I'm glad we could kind of talk through this. And guys, as you go through this next week, just think about ways you could connect with your kid versus just managing that appointment. Or even if you're at the appointment, try and find some joy in that appointment. I think it'll change a lot of how you manage your day. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, 100%.